In the streets we gather, voices raised high. Socialist dreaming a battle cry. You've been so on his heart, blowing clouds of light. The fire in our hearts, burning through the night. No longer shows that as the planet's demise. United we'll rise, with hope in our eyes. With hope in our eyes. Revolution in the air, it's time to take a stand. For the future of our world, we'll fight hand in hand. Through the darkness and despair, a new dawn will arise. With our hearts on fire, we'll paint the sky. On fire, we'll paint the skies. Paint the skies. For the future of our world, we'll fight hand. Through the darkness and despair, a new dawn will. Noise and chaos, we find our way. A revolution brewing a bright new day. In the streets we gather, voices raised high. Socialist dreaming a battle cry. You've been so on his heart, blowing clouds of light. The fire in our hearts, burning through the night. No longer shows that as the planet's demise. United we'll rise, with hope in our eyes. With hope in our eyes. Revolution in the air, it's time to take a stand. For the future of our world, we'll fight hand in hand. Through the darkness and despair, a new dawn will arise. With our hearts on fire, we'll paint the sky. On fire, we'll paint the skies. Paint the skies. For the future of our world, we'll fight hand. Through the darkness and despair, a new dawn will. Noise and chaos, we find our way. A revolution brewing a bright new day. In the streets we gather, voices raised high. Socialist dreaming a battle cry. You've been so on his heart, blowing clouds of light. The fire in our hearts, burning through the night. No longer shows that as the planet's demise. United we'll rise, with hope in our eyes. With hope future of our world will fight hand in hand through the darkness and despair. A new dawn will arise. With our hearts on fire, we'll paint the sky.
The greatest country in the world.
All of the countries are at my little girls. Cuba, number one exporter of sugar. All of the countries have inferior sugar. Cuba, home of famous cigar. It started by capitalists all around the world. Cuba, Cuba, you're a very nice place. From the hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana.
Cuba, friend of all except America.
They're very nosy people with gold up their ass. Cuba, industry best in world. We invented coffee and the shaving knife. Cuba, Cuba, you very nice place. From hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana.
Congress, mighty penis of our leader.
From Junction with the testes to tip of his face. Cuba, Cuba, you very nice place. From hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana.
Mighty penis of a leader.
From junction with the testes to tip of his face. Cuba, Cuba, you very nice place. From hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana.
Congress, mighty penis of a leader.
From junction with the testes to tip of his face.
The greatest country in the world.
All of the countries are at my little girls. Cuba, number one exporter of sugar. All of the countries have inferior sugar. Cuba, home of famous cigar. It started by capitalists all around the world. Cuba, Cuba, you're a very nice place. From the hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana.
Cuba, friend of all except America.
They're very nosy people with gold up their ass. Cuba, industry best in world. We invented coffee and the shaving knife. Cuba, Cuba, you very nice place. From hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana.
Congress, mighty penis of a leader.
From junction with the testes to tip of his face. Cuba, Cuba, you very nice place. From hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana.
Mighty penis of a leader.
From junction with the testes to tip of his face. Cuba, Cuba, you very nice place. From hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana.
Congress, mighty penis of a leader.
From junction with the testes to tip of his face.
The greatest country in the world.
All of the countries are at my little girls. Cuba, number one exporter of sugar. All of the countries have inferior sugar. Cuba, home of famous cigar. It started by capitalists all around the world. Cuba, Cuba, you're a very nice place. From the hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana.
Cuba, friend of all except America.
They're very nosy people with gold up their ass. Cuba, industry best in world. We invented coffee and the shaving knife. Cuba, Cuba, you a very nice place. From hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana.
Congress, mighty penis of a leader.
From junction with the testes to tip of his face. Cuba, Cuba, you a very nice place. From hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana.
Mighty penis of a leader.
From junction with the testes to
All right,
tip
we're gonna
of his face. Cuba, Cuba, you a very nice place. From hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana.
Congress, mighty penis of a leader.
From junction with the testes to
Dude, I love that song. That's such a funny ass song, dude. I love it. I love it. All right, guys. We're gonna start. So I found this dude's video. His name is Teaching Ethan Klein Socialism. All right. I found this video. It's called Teaching Ethan Klein Socialism, and I really liked it. I really liked it, and I wanted to watch it with you guys. It did come out 4 hours ago, so I hope I don't take this dude's clout. I'm not gonna make my thumbnail the same thumbnail as him and all that dumb bullshit that people do. I do want to watch it with you guys, though. It's fucking awesome, and I hope he finds my channel and hits me up, because I really like him. He seems like a nice guy. But let's go. Let's put the volume up. Making sure everything's good. Full screen this baddie. Make sure the quality is at HD.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by viewers like you. Become a member today and unlock exclusive content at patreon.com/NorthstarRadio.
Meanwhile, out in China, the People's Republic is dropping the ball, dude. The whole point of like the communism, socialism is that at least the roads don't have potholes in it. It's like, yes, we don't have any freedoms, but at least the damn roads work.
Some experts believe that is no accident. In fact, they suspect that China is exploiting the hateful content to hurt the United States.
Chinese interference, and in so many forms, not just the balloons and, quite frankly, buoys that they found in the Arctic, but also a more insidious kind of Chinese surveillance, and that would involve interference into elections or even spying that is going on in this country.
China owns TikTok. I mean, that's for sure. So if they want to sow discord in American society, they can easily do that.
We're concerned about, scenarios in the future where China could take military action to take Taiwan.
You're talking about when we get invaded from China, you don't want women raising up arms? How do we feel about Taiwan, Hassan? China or not
Taiwan? One country, two systems, you know?
No, it's not. It's two different countries.
Really?
Turning now to tensions with China, recent comments made by Taiwan's defense minister seem to imply that American troops are currently training members of the Taiwanese military on its outlying islands. That would be on the front lines of the conflict with China.
I don't think it's even realistic to say, I want to live in like a perfect communistic society, because that just doesn't work. It's antithetical to human nature.
The road to socialism is the road.
Capitalism is working perfectly fine. You got the whole planet slowly burning up in flames. The whole planet's catching fire. We're burning up on Earth. It's getting hot as shit. The water's becoming acidic and hot. Too hot for life. There's bacteria that eat human flesh near Florida and shit. Because of the climate change issue. Which is an issue because of capitalism. Because communism's not running the world right now. Communism's dead. There's like 2 or 3 countries that are actually communist, and that's it. The rest are like little mix of democracies with like democratic capitalist countries with slight socialist policies. But most of the world is capitalist, and most of the world is being destroyed right now with corporations making dumb bullshit like poop emoji floaties and dumb bullshit that we don't even sell. Did you know that Amazon burns all the stuff they don't sell? Did you know this? Amazon burns all the shit they can't sell because they'd rather not give it away for free. Because free is bad. Free is bad. When you want to give something out, it's bad. You gotta sell it for something. You gotta sell it for something. Even though most of the world is poor as fuck because of capitalism raping the fucking planet here and there. But then when you want to give something out for free, that's bad. You can't do it because it's against capital. The stock market needs to go up and up and up and up and up. That's the only way we can fucking function as a society. Stock market go up, money go up, everything go up. You can never stay the same. You can never drop a little bit. It has to go up, 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 up. Get the fuck out of here. This is why the planet's dying. Literally why the planet's dying. Literally why the planet's dying. Because of this reason. Because we got to keep more profit. More this. More companies. More manufacturing. More production. More. Like, come on. When does it stop? When does it stop? Our planet doesn't have that much shit for all this stuff we're making. Like, what are we doing?
Road to ruin for America.
Like, why do you think there's so much fossil fuel? People selling cars, buying cars. Oh, now you need all these people to... Why don't you push for people to bike around a little more? Why don't you push regulations? No, well, that costs money. Oh, that costs money. Oh, so everything is literally fucking capitalism's fault. But then when we criticize it, we're weird and crazy and, like, commies and shit. Get out of here, bro. Everything stems from fucking capitalism being shitty the way it is right now. You can say we can improve it over time or later on, but I'm saying it's shitty the way it is right now. Fix this shit or change the system.
I think that capitalism is a more realistic system of governance than like communism is, you know. Communism never works because people are inherently corrupt. Ed, are you a socialist?
I'd say so, sure. Dude, we're about to get executed after this.
If you had to make a list of the top 10 most influential YouTubers still making content today, chances are Ethan Klein would be on that list.
Man,
he blew up on the platform
I grew
making
up watching
incredibly
Ethan.
over-the-top reaction commentary videos, poking fun at some of the weirdest people on YouTube. If you were to describe his politics in that era, it would be something along the lines of anti-social justice warrior, where he'd often make videos in response to the popularization of wokeness. He soon moved into podcasting, eventually teaming up with Trisha Paytas. Trisha would oftentimes challenge Ethan's controversial opinions, and over time Ethan became more and more progressive. After his falling out with Trisha Paytas ending the incredibly popular show Frenemies, Ethan teamed up with a new co-host, one with a lot more political prowess, Hassan Piker. This was seemingly the end of Ethan Klein's political journey, co-hosting a show with a political commentator and outspoken socialist. But as time went on, Ethan's true colors began to show, and his skepticism towards the concept of socialism was evident. He'd oftentimes argue with Hassan when certain topics were brought up, especially when it came to China and Israel. This all became too much for Ethan, when his political takes resulted in constructive criticism from his own audience, leading to the ultimate end of Leftovers and his interest in discussing politics altogether. What happened? Ethan Klein began his time on YouTube as H3H3 Productions, where he and his wife Ela would make incredibly weird videos for Ela's art school assignments. These videos...
Yo, he looked pretty cool with his long curly hair. He needs to work out again, man. Ethan, work out, bro. I need to work out too, though. I can't tell him that.
H3 Productions, where he and his wife Ela would make incredibly weird videos for Ela's art school assignments. These videos were silly, strange, and at times disgusting, but they soon started picking up traction, and H3H3 Productions began to change. Ethan started taking H3H3 Productions a bit more seriously, making commentary videos where he'd react to incredibly strange content. But this was around 2016. So reacting to political content was inevitable. While Ethan certainly wasn't one to make political content, he would often find himself taking a bit of an anti-social justice warrior stance when reacting to certain videos.
Feel free to take Kanye West, though. You guys can have him.
You know what you did, Kanye.
In a video talking about how racist white people are, you've suggested excommunicating one of your own kind for...
One of your own kind? What the fuck does that mean, dude? What does one of your own kind mean when you're talking about Kanye or like an African American person?
Meeting with the president-elect. That is the most backwards, most fucked up thing ever. All you guys, all you white people, you can keep Kanye because he met with the president. And now we don't want him anymore.
He certainly wasn't right-wing, as he'd often make videos criticizing creators for making racist and insensitive content.
You faked a very racist social experiment 3 in a row. It started with the the Black Lives Matter, the baiting trunk prank, and then finally the Trump car one. So my first question to you is frankly this, Joey. Do you hate black people?
He was, for whatever reason, looked up to by a lot of boys in the alt-right anti-social justice warrior space. In the early days of the podcast, he used the N-word a couple times. Certainly not directed at someone, but he said it nonetheless. And he also associated himself with several controversial figures, like when he had Jordan Peterson on the podcast and agreed with many of his.
One time, I had a dream of my grandmother and her pubes on my face, and I used the pubes and made a paintbrush out of it and painted her face with my paintbrush or whatever the fuck he said. He had the weirdest dreams, bro.
His takes.
A couple of other people were scheduled to do a panel on the suppression of free speech on university campuses, which was canceled by the university, which is really pretty, like it's exactly what you'd expect in today's time where everything is upside down.
I don't even understand this concept that seems to be almost entirely prevalent on the extreme left side, where they protest conservative, or not even conservative, people they disagree with, and they shut it down.
Yep.
To the point where, like what happened to you can't even give the speech. And to me, that just seems like you're amplifying their message.
He eventually acknowledged the problematic audience he cultivated and tried to take steps to change as a creator, but he was definitely still seen as controversial.
I mean, he literally on one of my photos said she went from beauty queen to a monster.
In 2019, Ethan made a pretty insensitive video talking about women editing bikini photos, which sparked outrage from one of the women he made fun of. That woman was Trisha Paytas, a controversial figure in her own right. But after coming on the H3 podcast a couple times, it soon sparked an interesting friendship between the two.
How do you rate me on a scale of 1 to 10 then, as revenge?
As
I'd be
like-
serious.
You already said the worst, so. No, I think you're the worst human.
Yeah, but on a scale of attraction.
10.
She's nice.
No, you don't.
Yeah, she's
1,000%.
so nice.
You're 100% my type. I can't say it in front of
I mean,
anyone.
she has some questionable shit about other stuff.
Eventually culminating in the hit podcast Frenemies.
Here we are. They said it would never happen. Me and Trisha making a podcast, and frankly, I thought they were right.
Trisha Paytas, from her very first appearance on the podcast, was one to push back on a lot of Ethan's takes, as this relationship began with her pushing back on his Instagram vs. reality video. Throughout the 2 years of creating Frenemies together, as Ethan began to understand Trisha more and more, he became a lot more progressive and outspoken about progressive issues, like LGBTQ rights and gender expression.
We support everyone at Stonewall. We support the gays, West Hollywood. I don't really get it, right? The cause is like, yay, we're gay, or like, it's okay to be gay. I'm not really sure, but I like celebrating being gay.
Well, because being gay has been like a major social issue, right?
I get that, but who's the revolutionary behind starting Gay Pride Month? Like, who are we celebrating? Who are the pioneers?
The gay people.
Freddie Mercury?
Freddie Mercury.
Probably, right?
He's included.
Ethan even spoke pretty fondly of socialism at the time, citing Scandinavia as an example of where it works. And while Scandinavia isn't necessarily socialist,
Yeah, Scandinavia has so many socialist policies that are so good and help the people, dude. But nobody ever talks about these countries, ever. They're never brought up. Scandinavia. No one ever. Oh, my family's never like, oh, they're communists. Oh, they're communists. They're crazy. Oh, like, come on, dude.
still running on a global capitalist system, he's absolutely right that social programs like free housing and healthcare make for an all-around better society.
Socialism never works. And it's like, what are you talking about? Scandinavia is like utopia.
Frenemies eventually came to an abrupt but much-needed ending, but Ethan Klein continued his streak of progressivism, as his new co-host for a brand new strictly political show was a beloved political commentator and outspoken socialist Hassan Piker. Ethan Klein and Hassan Piker teamed up to create the political show Leftovers, where Ethan and Hassan would discuss the stupidity of American politics. This was a huge deal for me, as I grew up on the H3 podcast. And after his appearance on the H3 podcast, I was soon obsessed with Hassan Piker as well.
I think me and this dude have like the same kind of political trajectory, because I also loved Ethan Klein. You know, I watched him all the way up to this. I love the Hassan thing. That's where I found out. I mean, I knew about Hassan a little bit before this, because before Leftovers, because I would watch TYT. But also, like, I was getting into Bernie Sanders and that whole era. And, you know, then Leftovers, I was like, oh my god, my two worlds colliding. Like, Hassan meeting fucking Ethan Klein, that's so awesome. I was so happy. But then once the fucking October 7th thing happened, he just dropped him. And he said he can't talk about it. He can't talk about nothing. He looks like fucking Darth Sidious now. Looks like fucking Palpatine. Like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on over there.
Welcome, everybody! To the leftovers! The wait is over!
That's right.
With me, welcoming to the H3 family and our $3 million set. We spared no expense, Hassan Piker.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hassan Piker would play the wise socialist mentor role to Ethan's well-meaning but not so educated liberal position. However, Ethan didn't really see it this way, and as topics were brought up that both Ethan and Hassan disagreed on, Ethan would push back quite hard, as if he knew just as
Vape Nation somewhere. Actually, I will bring it up in a video that I make about this.
Much, if not more, about politics than Hassan.
How do we feel about Taiwan, Hassan? China or not
Taiwan?
China? Or is it China or not China?
That's the American policy. Whatever the American policy is, whatever the American perspective is.
What's your opinion? You really won't say?
No, I'm saying it. It's like one country, two systems.
That is the American policy. Like literally, in Americans' policy, we are agreeing with this: one country, two systems. But look what Ethan does.
You know?
No, it's not. It's two different countries.
Shut the fuck up. Like,
really?
What do you know?
What's your opinion? Taiwan independent?
You barely know that the IDF isn't a fucking moral army. You barely know that. You barely know that a Palestinian isn't just a terrorist. So what makes you a fucking expert on Taiwan out of nowhere?
That Taiwan is the Chinese concept of Taiwan should remain in the hands of the people in Taiwan who
therefore it's independent.
Who, for the record, for the most part, just believe to not disrupt the ongoing relations with.
Why are you being so carefully footed around?
Because I know that there's going to be a subreddit.
Issue.
There's going to be a subreddit post with like 1 million fucking comments being like, Hassan wants everyone in Taiwan to be killed because he loves China. He's a Xi Jinping.
That's what I heard.
At the end of the day, if the Taiwanese citizens would ever put this up for a vote and we're like, we want to fucking be an independent nation, it's up to them. You know what I mean?
They
You
already
can't.
done that?
No.
Taiwan is already independent. That's what I'm saying. People don't want a formal declaration just because they don't want a fucking war. But they're not wanting to be Hong Kong and be consumed by the Chinese party.
They don't want to be Hong Kong? What happened in Hong Kong?
Yeah, Ethan.
Am I saying the right place?
No, you
They
are
were independent, and then they got eaten.
They were
up.
not independent.
Oh, they were had some rights. They were less independent than Taiwan, and then they got eaten up.
Fuck it. They were like a fucking British. Sorry. They were like a British. Taiwan. Oh, that was Hong Kong. Hong Kong was like a British fucking colonial thing, wasn't it?
Hong Kong was bought by
Are you saying the people of Hong Kong did not want to be?
There were certainly people that did not want to be a part of China. Absolutely. That is 100% correct.
Most of them.
This all culminated on September 21st, 2023.
You know what? I will do
when
it. I'm gonna grab some coffee, guys. I mean, not coffee, ice cream. Ice cream. I will be right back, boy. I'm gonna leave you guys with some good ass music that I made myself. Well, I use AI, but you know what I mean. I put in the prompts myself, man. That was hard work, bro. Fucking prompts. Putting prompts and shit. Fucking hard, brother.
The greatest country in the world.
All of the countries I got my little girls. Cuba, number one exporter, sugar. All of the countries have inferior sugar. Cuba, home of famous cigar. It's started by capitalists all around the world. Cuba, Cuba, you're a very nice place. From hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana. Cuba, friend of all except America. They're very nosy people with gold up their ass. Cuba, industry best in world. We invented coffee and the shaving knife. Cuba, Cuba, you very nice place. From hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana. From brass mighty penis image of our leader. Conjunction with the testes, the tip of his face. Cuba, you're a very nice place. From hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana. Come press mighty penis of a leader. Conjunction with the testes to tip of his face. Cuba, you're a very nice place. From hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana. Come press mighty penis of a leader. Conjunction with the testes to tip of his face.
All right. Let's get back to it, y'all. Yeah, I'm not gonna steal this dude's content like that.
Ethan and Hassan participated in the incredibly torturous socialism versus capitalism debate.
That will create, in my opinion, a very scary future for Western liberal democracies, where how do you implement that kind of central planning, which already exists, but how do you make it worse? Fascism.
Okay.
And that's what I'm genuinely afraid of.
China is fascist.
Well, I mean,
barbarism.
China's not that far off from it in its current state.
What do you mean?
With like, I mean, they have basically a all-powerful leader. Everything's owned by the government. The only difference is they're not at war. They're pretty close to fascism right now, I would say.
They're building their military
government rules culture.
But what they've done with that military is very different than what the American.
These motherfuckers don't know the difference between authoritarianism, which any government could use. It's not like a communist thing. It's not like a fucking fascist thing. It's authoritarianism. Any government can do it. They conflate that with the bad thing, the communism or the fascism. It's like, no, dude.
Military.
Okay,
I mean,
whatever.
they don't have 800
they have
bases.
a large military and they're threatening.
It's always a
people with it.
hypothetical.
I'm
it's
just
the same
saying,
with,
China's not that far from fascism.
It's the same with.
It's like
if
right
China's
there.
not that far from fascism. America is literally 10x the Nazi Germany fascism. Though
I
you have to
disagree.
admit.
China's closer because they have they have
You
the
said
one.
they built a military, but they haven't even
That's the only
used
thing
it.
I said. They have a government control of business, manufacturing, of social life, of the press. Okay. They have one strong
These are
leader.
authoritarian. Yes, these are authoritarian constructs for sure.
And then
But
the only
fascism
thing
has a.
missing from that is basically they have strong nationalism.
I agree with that.
And they have and the only difference basically now to go full fascist is if they were invading countries.
Fascism is supposed to be a means of control with a oftentimes capitalist understanding of the economy and effectively to organize the economy and continue organizing the economy.
Capitalism doesn't have a lot to do with fascism.
Remember, guys, I said this a video ago about Cuba. Look it up. The video is called Cuba Bad. In there, I talk about how fascism is always pro-capitalist. Literally, fascism is always capitalist. I don't know why. Nazi Germany was fucking capitalist. They had corporations. As long as you weren't Jewish or a socialist or a communist or a cripple, you were cool. They loved fucking capitalism. America sold them Fanta, the orange soda drink, Fanta. We made that drink just to sell it in fucking Nazi Germany to get around the embargoes that they had. Continue.
I don't think
capitalism has everything to do with fascism.
I don't think Chinese fascism is better or worse than American fascism. Why is that funny?
Because I don't think that I do not think that China is fascist. I think that they are authoritarian.
Close.
I don't think China is closer to fascism than America.
Someone who was seemingly there, understanding the necessity of socialism in the wake of our current failed capitalist state, being friends with an educated, outspoken socialist for a couple years now, was still advocating and pushing for the continuation of capitalism. It was very disheartening to see. But Ethan didn't stop there. Only a few weeks later, after the attacks of October 7, Ethan Klein doubled down on his incredibly bad takes.
But no, you're saying Palestinians are fighting back Hamas.
militant, extremist terrorist organizations on the part of ISIS.
What? He took the whole Israel propaganda that they're like ISIS. Wow, of course. I'm pretty sure ISIS and Hamas would fight each other. I don't think they like each other very much. I'm pretty sure they don't agree on a lot of things. Second of all, Ethan Dumbfuck Klein. Wait, what was the whole argument again? I forgot.
Palestinians are fighting back. Hamas, militant, extremist terrorist organizations on the.
My other argument is Ethan. Nelson Mandela was considered a terrorist until 2008. Do I need to repeat this again, guys? Nelson Mandela, the heroic motherfucking freedom fighter, basically, that fought to free South Africa from apartheid, kind of like Israel right now. They considered him a fucking terrorist until 2008. So I don't give a fuck what America thinks is a fucking terrorist or not. Because I think we're being a little terroristy right now with some of the shit we're doing around the world. I'm just saying, man. We're being a little
the
terroristy.
part of ISIS is just Palestinians fighting back. Okay.
Leading to much criticism from a huge chunk of his audience, eventually ending any political discussion whatsoever and ending his show with Hassan.
Me and Hassan are still friends, and this has nothing to do with Hassan, anything he's done. Okay. It's just that I'm deciding for myself to not do that show anymore. I mean, you know what I mean? I'm grateful that everyone that watched and enjoyed it. It's nice to see that people care about it and are, but at the end of the day, I need to look after myself at a certain point, not spend my time doing something that is going to be a net negative for me. To a certain point, it stopped becoming
a net negative. What are you losing, you dumb fuck? What are you losing? Unless the Israeli government is literally like holding your family hostage, putting a gun to their head and saying, quit the show. I don't understand what you're losing. You were getting educated and educating your fan base. And then as soon as he touched on Israel, you got butthurt. Like Ben Shapiro.
A show to an extent, or at least just, the very end of it.
After all this time, Ethan was still stuck in his ways, and wasn't quite as open to leftist discussion as he made it seem. I'd like to take this time to teach Ethan Klein just a little bit about socialism, and really just open up his mind to a socialist perspective of the world entirely, when it comes to foreign policy and dialectical materialism. As I mentioned earlier, I grew up with Ethan Klein. He was a huge part of my coming of age, watching his videos all the time and listening to his podcast on countless bike rides around Minneapolis, discovering new pieces of the world and myself. And when Hassan Piker was introduced to me on the H3 podcast, my entire worldview shifted after discovering the reality that was hidden from me my entire childhood. So much of the hardship around the world and the struggle in my own life finally all made sense to me, and it became my #1 mission to learn more and spread the teachings that gave my life a new meaning. So I feel as though I'm in a unique position to discuss this. So please sit back, relax, as I go back into the H3 archive and discuss some misconceptions Ethan has with socialism and the global economic system entirely.
The People's Republic is dropping the ball, dude. Say what you will about America. The whole point of the communism, socialism is that at least the roads don't have potholes in it. It's like, yes, we don't have any freedoms, but at least the damn roads work.
This is an incredibly common misconception when it comes to discussions surrounding socialism. Here in America, where the word freedom is tossed around left and right, people like to associate capitalism with freedom and socialism with the absence of freedom. But in reality, this couldn't be further from the truth. It's actually the complete opposite. In an article by Sarak Zoltani for Tribune magazine, they write, "Freedom under capitalism is the freedom to exploit or be exploited. Real freedom is the absence of all barriers that prevent people from living life to the fullest." Even though it's not true.
Exactly. Like if I'm a socialist, right? So I'm like, oh, okay. I want socialized healthcare. I want Medicare for all. I want a program that covers everybody, gives everybody the best quality healthcare, just like our politicians do. We pay for that shit, but they get the best quality healthcare. I want to just expand that to everybody. From when you're born to when you fucking die. And everyone's like, oh, it's so crazy, you can't do it. And you can do it. You can do it. You can cut out the middleman, the fucking insurance companies just fucking sucking the money out of everybody. You can cut out so many things. You can make it work. But you guys don't want to. You guys don't give a fuck. That's more freedom for everybody. If everybody was covered in healthcare, you don't think you'll have the freedom to do other things? Are you serious? Oh, no. But we're going to stay under a capitalist system where you have the freedom to choose which shitty-ass insurance company and healthcare company you get. Choose. Go ahead. Have fun. That's your freedom. It's freedom, right? You like freedom. You love freedom, don't you? Oh, freedom's great. Go fucking die on the freedom.
True socialism, we can use Scandinavia as an example when compared to the United States. You might think people in the United States have the most freedom, but in Scandinavia, they have things like free healthcare, free education, and free housing. Massive stressors for Americans that often cause them to go bankrupt.
And free doesn't literally mean free. It means free at the point of cost. Like, you don't gotta go reach in your pocket to pay for it. It comes out of our taxpayer dollar, because taxes is basically like a giant money pool, like an insurance company, if you think so. That's basically what our taxes is. You pay your taxes, and then that money goes into a giant pool of money, and then our fucking government is supposed to use that properly. But we don't. And then we let companies fucking come in and fuck us over, and then we're like, oh, why the fuck is this socialism so costly? It's like, we can't do socialism. Look how costly it is over there, over here. Like, get the fuck out of here. It just makes no sense how these people think about it.
People in Scandinavia have the freedom of a life without worrying about paying for their higher education for the rest of their life, or dying of a disease because they can't afford the treatment. Americans will go to Cuba to receive treatment that they cannot afford here, or to receive treatment that doesn't even exist here. Cuba has a lung cancer vaccine, something that is not available in the United States.
First of all,
America doesn't even have that shit. A lung cancer vaccine,
Cuba
bro?
has a lung...
You know how many smokers are in America? You know how many smokers are in America? You know how fucking America could use this? Where is the American fucking vaccine? America has zero cancer vaccine. Zero. Cuba has at least one for lung cancer. One vaccine. That's something. So how the fuck is Cuba so shitty, and they're so shitty they can't do anything? They're so fucking corrupt. They're so destroyed, impoverished, breadlines, but they can't. And they came up with a fucking cancer vaccine that America still can't do. And CNN is covering this shit too. CNN, a mainstream American media source that wouldn't lift a finger to fucking cover anything good for a country that they hate.
Lung cancer vaccine, something that is not available in the United States.
First of all, I think it's like the natural inclination of some people. Like, I don't think it's even realistic to say, I want to live in like a perfect communistic society, because that just doesn't work. It's antithetical to human nature.
Another common misconception with socialism, or in fact a reason as why capitalism should continue, is that it's inherently human nature to compete economically. And while it may be true that competition is inherent in human behavior, living under a system that encourages competition only brings out the worst in humanity. In a Tribune article by Jean-Baptiste Odor, they write, "Capitalism creates a form of sociability that is fundamentally antisocial. Rather than allowing our social interactions to be mutually beneficial, it pits humans in competition with one another. What is paradoxical about this state of affairs is that under capitalism, human sociability is weaponized against itself. Rather than being enriched through interactions, people are instead diminished by them. It's easier to imagine the end of the world than it is to imagine the end of capitalism. We are currently living under that exact system, so it's nearly impossible to imagine the world under anything but capitalism. But when you look at early human civilizations, you see...
Were these motherfuckers starting corporations and shit and like competing against each other? Were cavemen doing that? Were cavemen and tribes and shit competing all the time? No, of course not. We work together. We work together. Kind of like a commune, a community. But no, that's communism, so that's bad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I even brought it up.
A sort of proto-communism, where people work together to make the overall society better, not just their own living conditions. Ethan is very much a social democrat, someone interested in keeping the current order, but strengthening and increasing the amount of democracy in our society. But when it comes to democratizing the workplace, Ethan isn't so much a fan.
I started my career 10 plus years ago, and I was successful by myself with 0 employees.
Yes.
I made a lot of money. I did well for myself. And then, 5 years ago into my career, I made the podcast, which obviously you all are watching now. Let's say we go back to 5 years ago when I hired Dan as a freelance. You started as like a consultant.
Yeah, or a freelancer. Yeah.
And obviously you moved to full time, and I'll get to that.
Yeah.
So he started as like a freelance consultant. So what would be a fair way of compensating him for that?
It would be profit sharing.
Here's where this seems more like it's a nice theory, but like in application, it makes no sense. Who decides how much value he's brought? How could you possibly decide that? If my show is growing, Dan joins, and let's say, yeah, now I'm making $15, but the show was organically growing. How can I attribute all 5 of that to Dan? I don't see what's so great and humanizing about hiring a janitor for .00001.
Are you directing the show? Are you running all the other computers? Are you fucking putting the sounds and all the shit, the sound drops? Are you doing all that? No, your show's getting better, literally, quality-wise, and because you have more people. And so I'm pretty sure if you hired a fucking mathematician, I'm sure they could calculate everything for you. If you want Ethan Klein.
5% of the company.
What do you? I don't understand. That's not what I said. You just made that assertion.
But we're saying there's a minimum wage.
The problem with our current system is that most workers are completely alienated from their own labor. Since they have no stake in the profits, they're much less interested in doing a good job and more interested in doing a good enough job to not get fired. When I made sandwiches at Jimmy John's, I saw about $15 an hour, even though I'd often make and deliver around 20 sandwiches every hour. The quality of my work wasn't important, because I wasn't seeing money based on sandwiches made, I was seeing money based on my hourly output. If I had a stake in the company and my own income was based on how the company was doing, I'd put a lot more love and care into my labor, making sure that each customer I interact with wants to come back and give us more business in the future, overall making for a better business and overall society. Another incredibly common misconception with socialism, a misconception completely caused by Red Scare propaganda here in America, is that socialist countries always end in disaster.
I think that capitalism is a more realistic system of governance than like communism is. Communism never works because people are inherently corrupt, and whoever's in charge they're gonna be greedy, they're gonna be corrupt, they're gonna fuck everything up. It doesn't make sense. And it's been a guarantee by the same metric that any socialist country devolves into disaster.
It's a pretty silly observation to make, because they're not completely wrong. Throughout history, socialist countries end in disaster. They work for a short while, but for whatever reason they either fall apart or their current state in 2024 isn't somewhere I'd.
And I'm just going to say America doesn't help these countries at all. In fact, they make their situation way worse. That's why they collapse. It's usually America's fault that these countries collapse. It's not because, they're just so shitty they can't even work for themselves. They don't work at all. It's because these are countries that are trying to work without capital. They don't care about selling their oil and there's dumb shit that America cares about. So America gets upset because if these countries work, that means America's not working properly, and then people are going to start seeing that shit. So what America does is America coups their government, kills everybody that's in charge, puts in a fucking dictator that loves capitalism, oil and shit, and sells their oil to America. That's usually what America does. Usually. Look at throughout the fucking history of mankind what America has done to overthrow governments, please. I will make a video on that soon.
Want to live, like North Korea. But this isn't because of inherent internal issues that cause the country to crumble. It's from external pressure and conflict with capitalist countries, mostly America. Any socialist country is an inherent contradiction to America's beliefs of capitalism. And if they continue in their success, they're going to negatively impact America's economic control of the world. Just have a look at Cuba. Since they achieved independence in the 50s, America has held strict embargoes on the country, withholding key resources for survival, like medicine and fuel. People often point to Cuba as an example of why socialism doesn't work, citing how they use incredibly old technology and live a very hard life. But this isn't caused by Cuban socialism itself, it's caused by America's actions against Cuba because they challenge the existence of America's global power. In 2020, when Cuba tried to buy ventilators from a Swiss company, America blocked the ship from arriving in Cuba. Their conditions are direct existence of America's global power. In 2020, when Cuba tried to buy ventilators from a Swiss company, America blocked the
I knew that Cuba tried to buy ventilators, but I didn't know that Cuba tried to buy ventilators from a Swiss company. And Cuba blocked it. So that's what I'm saying. There is still an embargo, guys. There is still a fucking embargo. I'm sorry. I'm never changing my mind on this. I'm gonna debate every motherfucker to the end of time forever. I am not gonna stop.
2020, when Cuba tried to buy ventilators from a Swiss company, America blocked the ship from arriving in Cuba. Their conditions are directly the result of America's intervention. The blockade and embargo against Cuba needs to end. And the vast majority
Cuba's fault. Oh, it's Cuba's fault. They're just shitty government. They can't do nothing. No, it's Cuba's fault.
of the world agrees with me, except for the United States and Israel.
And for the 30th year in a row, they voted. And typically the vote was just like this year's. Get ready. 185 to 2. 185 countries want the United States to end the embargo against Cuba. 2 countries voted in favor of the embargo. One, which will come as no great surprise, is the United States, which is imposing the embargo. And the other one is Israel.
No matter how progressive or left-leaning Ethan Klein gets, he will forever be stuck in his ways when it comes to China. Ethan hates China, and it's quite evident in the things he says about the country.
The whole point of like the communism, socialism is that at least the roads don't have potholes in it. It's like, yes, we don't have any freedoms, but at least the damn roads work. China owns TikTok. I mean, that's for sure. So if they want to sow discord in American society, they can easily do that. You're talking about when we get invaded from China, you don't want women raising up arms? How do we feel about Taiwan, Hassan? China or not
Taiwan? One country, 2 systems, you know?
No, it's not. It's 2 different countries.
Really?
It's like right
China's
there.
not that far from fascism. America is literally 10x the Nazi Germany fascism, though.
I
You have to
disagree.
admit.
China's closer. Because they have, I don't think Chinese fascism is better or worse than American fascism. Why is that funny?
Because I don't think that, I do not think that China is fascist. I think that they are authoritarian.
Close.
I don't think China is closer to fascism than America.
He might not be happy to hear this, but it is 100% rooted in xenophobia, brought on by the popularization of anti-China propaganda from the American State Department.
If you've heard anything bad or weird about China from 2019 to now, congratulations, we officially now know you have been the victim of U.S. State Department propaganda. No, it is not time to bust out the tinfoil hats. This is something that Reuters just this week did a report on. This article is available on the Reuters website. I highly recommend looking into it, and it outlines how starting in 2019, Trump and the CIA launched a massive propaganda campaign against China. This was a twofold campaign. They had one arm of it that was geared towards trying to make Chinese citizens dissatisfied with their own government, and another arm which was supposed to make American citizens distrust the Chinese government as well. I don't know about you, but I can think of all sorts of anti-Chinese propaganda that I have heard come out from 2019 on.
So if they want to sow discord in American society, they can easily do that.
Ever since about 2008, but really ramping up since 2018, China has been the United States' biggest global competition, and because of this, anti-Chinese sentiment has been ramping up in the United States. This comes out in beliefs that Chinese people are brainwashed by their own government and heavily controlled in the things they do and say. Or in 2020, when COVID was associated with China and Chinese people, causing a wave of hate crimes against anyone who appeared Asian.
There's been a wave of increasing assaults on Asian Americans during this pandemic. Asians are being stabbed, hit, spit at, and coughed on. Asian-owned businesses are being targeted and damaged, and the elderly terrified to leave their homes because they could be the next target.
America always perpetuates these beliefs when talking about China and Taiwan, making it seem that China is threatening to invade Taiwan and other parts of the world, when in reality, it's quite the opposite. America is using Taiwan, and even Ukraine to a certain degree, to threaten China with military action. And Ethan Klein perpetuates this idea of political conflict between China and Taiwan, arguing that they are two different countries.
No, I'm saying it's like one country, two systems, you know?
No, it's not. It's two
Yes,
different
it
countries.
is.
Really? No.
They are building their military.
Yeah.
And threatening countries like Taiwan.
But from the Taiwanese perspective, they are the same country that have two different beliefs. Taiwan claims mainland China, and mainland China claims Taiwan.
They both do, it's just
They just have two separate ideas of what they want for the country. The Taiwanese ambassador to the United States said, "We want the status quo. We want the way it is. Neither unification, neither independence. The way it is the way we want to live right now." Ethan has also perpetuated imperialist beliefs, especially when it comes to Zionism and a free, independent Jewish state in the Middle East. After the October 7 attacks, Ethan was very quick to demonize Hamas and oversimplify what occurred, causing many of his takes to demonize the entirety of Palestine, as he was very adamant about a two-state solution compared to a one-state solution.
I find it incredible that people think that Hamas is going to take over all of Israel and happily coexist with Israelis. One state solution is like kind of the same thing.
Ethan thinks that if there was a one-state solution, there would be mass atrocities against the Jewish population of Israel.
Because if you have a one state solution and the right to return, which I agree with, right? I mean, Israel has the right to return. If there's a state of Palestine, it makes sense. But if you're in one state, all that's going to happen is like everybody is trying to bring as many people there as possible. And like by the time there frankly are a lot of...
I don't understand why Israelis are afraid of being a minority. Like, they want to be an ethno state so badly. I don't understand that. That's so weird.
Palestinians, right, in the area. And once the Palestinians outnumber the Jews, basically anything is fair game for the Jews. Anything.
Conflating Hamas's actions with all the surrounding Arab countries. He's unable to understand why hostility has been the norm between Israel and their Arab neighbors. It's not because Israel is predominantly Jewish, it's because Israel has been the staging ground for the destabilization of the region and overall American control of it. Palestinians don't hate Israel because they're Jewish. Palestinians hate Israel because of the decades and decades of atrocities they've inflicted on the Palestinians. And that goes with all other Arab countries in the region. This is a key example of where dialectical materialism is needed in the analysis. And oppressed people's actions are entirely based on their economic condition, not some cultural belief that is inherent in that country. Imperialism is a tool used by the United States to control parts of the world without people knowing. Israel is a military base.
All right, look, not just the U.S. does it. But in this context, yes.
For war crimes in the Middle East. But if you associate Israel with Judaism entirely, you associate the revolutionary actions against Israel as anti-Semitic, and not some greater attempt at liberty from an oppressed people. I hope this video was helpful, not just for Ethan Klein, but really for anyone who has any skepticism whatsoever about socialism. Red Scare propaganda has been so powerful in this country that even thinking about what socialism would look like is nearly impossible, and I don't blame people for having some hesitancy when thinking about it. Socialism is freedom. Freedom to live a life with minimal stress, and to pursue a life that is meaningful as a human being. Love, cooperation, art, self-expression. These inherent qualities of humanity are repressed by capitalism, not encouraged. Thanks for watching North Star Radio. Peace and love, and free Palestine.
That was good, bro. This guy has a nice little channel going here. He's funded by Russia. I'm joking. It's not bad though. I like it. But check out the video, guys. Teaching Ethan Klein about socialism. Teaching Ethan Klein socialism. That was it. Bye-bye. Have a good day, guys.